Hi guys, it's Simon Morrow here at Morromoto, and this is my first post on YouTube on my Morromoto car channel, where hopefully I can just share some of my interests about cars and tell us a little bit about my cars. And the first post I was hopefully going to cover relates to this car behind us, which is my Golf GTE. Hopefully going to give you a wee bit of a tour around and a bit of a long-term review on how I've gone with it. So here we are, this is the Golf GTE. It's bought this back in September 2015. You can see the daytime running lights. If you see these running around, guys, it's often what shows them out, and you can see my Simon Morrow plate on there as well. So I've had this car since September 2015, and I wanted just to give a kind of long-term review about how I've gone with it. So running around, I quite like these daytime running lights, and it's got really bright purple headlights as well. GTE, unlike the GTIs, you've got the blue kind of banner running through the lights and along, rather than your red that you get in the GTI, but I think it really quite suits it. Comes in nice standard alloys, combination black and obviously blue brake calipers, which is the theme which runs through. The same as if we jump round to the back of the motor, twin exhaust, GTE badge on it. If we flip this up, jump into the boot, you can actually see there's quite a decent boot space. In the bags on the left are the supplied plugs and the puncture repair kit that you get with it as well. You can see there's a hatch through to the back, so apart from a slightly smaller space, because in underneath is where some of the bits and pieces are hid away, there's actually quite a good sized boot. And then inside, what we're really looking at, if I can just pop that open, is very similar to Golf GTI kind of standard spec, but with a blue trim rather than the reds. It's the kind of Golf GTI tartan, which to be honest I really quite like, and I chose to have over leather. Excuse me, coming in. If I jump into the car, you can see obviously DSG transmission, and what makes the GTE special is obviously you've got 1.4 petrol engine, and you've got your battery backup, which I can plug in. I've got a charging point over there next to the other car in the garage there. Charge up in a standard plug, 3 hours or so, and we're back having a just about 30 mph range. Car, I really enjoy it. It's got a whole range of different characters to it. So if I up, I'm at 15,000 miles. If you look at the different things that we've got, left hand is not really a rev counter. The rev counter is the tiny little bit in at the front here. And when we're in electric mode, you've got really blue says that you're burning the electricity, green says you're charging the car back up. So it's got a couple of different modes. If you look down at the gearbox, I had a lot of people who've got DSG Golf, and we're kind of saying, right, we know what park is, we know what reverse is, we know what neutral is. What is the D and the B? So D is clearly drive, but brake is the B is high brake regen mode, and what that means is when you're actually in gear, you can just jump back between standard braking and brake regen. And what that means is that when you're approaching a roundabout, for example, you're slowing down at junction, if you're actually in brake mode, you just take your foot off the accelerator and the car brakes for you. And it really brakes, not ridiculously heavily, but it does brake heavily enough that when it went for its first service, the video says, you know, your tyres are showing quite a lot of wear, but your pads are only 10% worn, as if the guy had quite an element of surprise. The modes in this car, and again I don't know if I've got this started up, not really started. This is the starting, you give it a wee turn the key, foot and brake, and that's you started. That's the engine running, ready to go. If I jump into the modes, you've got a range of driving modes. You've got electric driving mode only, you've got hybrid driving mode, which basically chooses between electric or the petrol as it sees as best. Third mode you've got is battery charge mode, which might mean if you want to charge up the battery before you say drive into a congestion charging zone, or as I sometimes do, if I'm going to try and plug in a free charger somewhere, then what I'll often do is fully discharge the car so that I can actually then charge it up when I then head off, so that I can get full charge out of it. So at the site, and leave it there for say 3 or 4 hours without somebody thinking you've not you're just blocking the space. There's quite a lot of charging points even up here in Scotland, which is really good. The other button which I want to show is this GTE button, and if I press GTE, if you look at the dash, it jumps to GTE, it kind of smooths down. What this gets you here is really a much improved throttle response. Everything's geared for speed, so you've got 150 horsepower's worth of petrol, you've got something like 104, just over 100 horsepower's worth of electric. Together, because of the way the clutches system works, it's only going to allow a maximum of 204 horsepower, but it's 204 horsepower, almost lag free because of the electric mode. Just to give you an idea of the noise, because people sometimes say that's me in reverse. Park Pilot, don't have the rear view cameras in this car, but Park Pilot, if I just go backwards, don't know if you can hear, but that's the car moving, and there's really no sound off it at all when you're in pure electric mode, which is quite impressive. I can stealth guys up in car park. Other couple of things that this car's got, which is standard to it, is you've got here the cruise control, and you can also, you know, choose a maximum speed, but the cruise control is entirely variable, so you can set the distance to the car in front, and the car will slow up and speed down to match the car in front, right down to 0. Well, if you do 0, you've got just a wee touch in the accelerator to start it off. But particularly when you're in electric mode, it really is eerie. It probably feels a bit like driving a Tesla, because you've only just got to steer. You're cruising along gently. Some people say to me, what's the maximum range? You can see just now in GTE mode, 22 miles. If I turn off the aircon right now, 29 miles. If I turn off the GTE mode, I think there you go, 29, 30 miles is your maximum range, and I think I've maybe already got that once out of it. In my honest opinion though, I've got it's like a 15 mile, 12 to 15 mile drive to work, and I can just gently cruise down entirely electrically and then get most of the way back up. And if I wanted to, I could charge it at work, but it means the engine gets a little run out every day. But with the engine, I think one of the things that sometimes these cars are slagged because who would want to buy it, is actually really, really practical. So for me, who's got a fairly short commute, what I've got is I've got the ability to run, you know, electrically most of the time. But if I was going to go on a long journey, if you fill up the car with fuel, there's a kind of notional range of say 400 miles, and I'm not 100% sure if I can drag that up. Let's see what we can get if we go again. Yeah, it's saying I've got an 84 mile range because I've not got much fuel in the car, but you can actually get up to 400 miles out of it. Car's quite nice. I like some of the kind of this whole charging and discharging button. So if you floor it in GTE mode, you'll be right round into boost, and you really feel an absolute kick in the back. On the other hand, if you've got brake regen mode on down here, and you're cruising along very gently, even in a minor hill, you take your foot off, you'll see the car starting to charge back up. And you do realise things like having the aircon on and off, they're saying makes a 7 mile difference in the range. So it does make you become mindful of what actually is burning a lot of the electric, what's burning a lot of the power when you're driving. But I really like it to drive. But one of the reasons I wanted to sell this car, because the reason I'm doing this post now is my first one is I'm going to sell it. I've got a new car coming on Saturday, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but a new car coming Saturday. But until that comes, I'm going to try. I just polished it up and looked after it. Why am I selling this car? To be honest, it's the seating position. Now you might say, well Simon, it's because you've not set yourself up very effectively. But for me, the accelerator and brake are just slightly offset. And whether it's these seats, which I think, I'm about to jump back out, seem relatively comfortable at first glance, it's really hurting my bum driving the damn thing now. It must be me, because Golfer into what, 7th generation, you'd have thought by this point that they got that sorted, so I think it's maybe me. But hopefully the new car I'm getting as a replacement is going to be more comfortable. Anything else worth having a look at? Well, the usual kind of auto lights, auto wipers, auto cruise. You've got in the glove locker, you've got a SD card in here at the front, nicely placed away. We've got USB socket and an audio line in, and the stereo even in this kind of unbranded one is really quite good. I didn't go for the nav. and to be perfectly honest, I am really quite pleased I didn't go for the nav, because I've just been using Waze in my phone and I find it much more active, and it means I've just then got it much more up to minute and responsive. It means I've then just got the display. I found an even wife's car, which is about to appear back probably soon, Mercedes, brand new, built-in Garmin. It's dreadful in comparison with Waze, so that's my Waze advert for today. Just going to jump back out again. We'll do a quick run around the car. So one of the good things about having a part electric car is, certainly up in Scotland, there's not that many electric cars around. So what it enables me to do is a part of the charger car network, or there's a charge version in Scotland as well. You can see the radar slot in below. But what it enables me to do is park up often, nearer the door than the disabled spaces. Go in there and get it charged up free of charge, and there's quite a few places I go in my travels where there's very handy access to charging points. So for example, take this through to Edinburgh, can park at the door of St Andrew's House, government building, free of charge, get it charged, and somebody looking after it for me. Whereas to park just down at the station and walk's going to cost me £16 for 4 hours, so it's quite significant. And I think with some of the congestion charges and stuff that that are coming in, then there's going to be more and more of these electric cars about. And I suppose as there are more cars around, it might well be that there's less access to the spaces, but just now I've found it very, very useful. So where is the charging point? Unlike a lot of the charging points, it's probably not going because it's meant to be ignition. Yeah, it's not. So the charging point, let's get the key out. The charging point is at the VW badge. Those of you who are as old as me remember people used to steal these quite a lot of the time. But if I plunk into here, there's your charging point, and you give them their plug-in CHAdeMO slot. You can either program it to charge up immediately, or you can do a time charge. And what's really good about this car, and one of the things which I think is overlooked, is that you can program it from your phone when it's plugged in. You can program it for your phone to charge up ready for you leaving. So if I know I'm leaving at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, I set it so that 8 o'clock Monday morning it's fully charged. Fair enough, but the clever bit is it's preheated and defrosted completely if you need to. So you can set your aircon 28 degrees, 25 degrees, you can set for defrost, you can step out to the car, it's toasty, and it means you've not burned a lot of your electricity, a lot of your battery power. Before you get there, you've charged up at your own house. And for me, that's actually a fantastic improvement over what you would do. I used to come out here with a scraper and scrape the car down. So for me, quite useful. I think the matched range is great. Having the hybrid, which gives you the petrol engine, so there's no range anxiety, but also having the electric for actually if you're doing a daily short commute. I mean, if I was being clever, I should have got another charger at work. There's actually one around the corner, and I should charge there and back every day and not pay a penny. Just now, I'm using just a very small amount of fuel. People do ask, how much is it costing to charge the car up? It must be costing a fortune. Well, it's interesting because it's plugged in nearly all the time in the house. It's just to come out, plug it into the socket, and off we go. And in reality, we have not noticed our fuel bills going up. And that's really quite surprising from our point of view. I like the blue. I spent a bit of time choosing the colour, and I thought the blue was going to be, I want it to be a subtle match for the blue stripe, and I think blue, black, grey, white, these are the kind of colours that people tend to go for with it, and I fancied this blue, and it's been nice. And I got this from Listers with a really good online deal to get it, and it was the time when there was a £5 government grant towards it, so I think it's been a very nice car, but I fancy a change. Thanks very much for listening, guys. Simon Morrow at morromoto. I'm going to my first video, those of you who might be saying to me, God, that guy's drivel, but hopefully you've found something useful in it. What I'm going to try and do over the next wee while is we'll introduce my new car, introduce the workhorse van a little bit, the Citroen Berlingo, which I'll tell you what, gets a lot of slacking, but fantastically useful car for me. This wee car in the garage, which I got for my wife for a Christmas gift. What a nice guy. Wee tiny, does anybody know what it is? Can anybody tell what it is yet? Wee tiny convertible. Yeah, a wee Daihatsu Copen. And hopefully some of the videos we're going to talk about, maybe I'll try and post beforehand, is taking this wee car, I hope, taking this wee car, driving it from Scotland all the way down to the Italian Grand Prix, for the Italian Grand Prix weekend. That's probably a set of YouTube videos in itself if we decide to go for it. It's all booked, just which car to take. And for me, one of the reasons I bought this in the winter time, just for her for Christmas. And the plan is, can I take it all the way, enjoy it in the summer, hood down, and then sell it at the end of the year for the same or more than I paid for it? It's going to be a bit of fun to talk about later on. Anyway guys, thanks for listening, and hopefully some new posts come up on site soon. Not just this, not just the Berlingo. My wife's got a nice AMG Mercedes A250, and hopefully a new car of mine coming in Saturday, some posts to follow. Cheers and thanks for listening.